A soft wind between giants. A space that was never filled. A silence louder than cheers. He never raised his voice. Not when the headlines shifted. Not when the torch was passed before the flame had faded. Not when the spotlight moved, gently but unmistakably, from him to someone else. Kobe Bryant didn't need to shout. He let his silence speak. Vanessa Bryant has lived with that silence. The one that curled around their home after long nights. The one that wrapped itself around Kobe every time the TV whispered LeBron's name. She remembers the mute button pressed quietly. Not in bitterness, but in protection. Protection of what he built. Protection from a world already replacing him while he still wore his jersey. LeBron once said, "We never had a real relationship." And in that sentence, there lived 1,000 unsaid things. They played in the same league, but in different realms. One chased legacy through dominance. The other guarded his with devotion. Kobe didn't dislike LeBron the man. He distrusted the machine that crowned him. While his own hands still bled, he was still rising at 4 a.m., still taping broken fingers, still pulling a fractured body through 82 games. And yet, the questions began. Is LeBron already better? Has the king arrived? Is Kobe yesterday? Kobe watched, and he remembered, and he wrote, not on Twitter, but in notebooks, in workouts, in the slow, steady fire of a man being quietly erased. And Vanessa, she was there through all of it. Not just the victories, but the void. The ache of being present, yet made to feel like a memory. This wasn't hate. This wasn't rivalry. This was mourning. For a legacy still living, but already being eulogized. He didn't chase the spotlight. He didn't need it. But when they handed it away, without asking, he felt it. Not in anger, but in the stillness. And stillness can roar louder than any crowd. He gave them everything. And before he could say goodbye, they handed his crown to another. The quiet isn't always peace. Sometimes it's the sound of being forgotten while you're still standing in the room. Kobe Bryant felt that long before the final buzzer. And Vanessa, she heard the weight of it every time he sat down beside her in silence. They didn't wait. Even while Kobe stitched together the last chapters of his greatness. The league turned the page. The media tilted the frame. The story changed. LeBron James hadn't just arrived. He had been chosen. Chosen before Kobe had even stepped off the floor. Before the sweat had dried. Before the wounds had scarred. It wasn't just comparison. It was quiet replacement. LeBron has surpassed Kobe. LeBron's already done more for his teams. The new face of the league. Vanessa remembers how it chipped away at him. Not the words themselves, but the way they were spoken. Casually, coldly, like the chapters he wrote in sweat were now being penciled over. There was a night. The night before he died. LeBron passed him on the all-time scoring list. And the league celebrated it like a coronation. A moment meant to crown the new king. But Kobe was watching. Vanessa said he didn't smile once. Not because he was bitter, but because it felt like they were stealing his flowers before the funeral. He gave the Lakers his body, his youth, his nights, his name. And yet, when the banners still hung with his breath behind them, they handed the keys to another. Nike began shifting its light. The Kobe lines began to fade. LeBron's brand grew stronger. And Kobe saw it coming. Vanessa later told those close to her. He knew the story was being rewritten. That's why he began building something else. The Mamba brand. Something independent. Something untouchable. Because if they wouldn't protect his name, he would. And if they tried to bury him under the next headline, Vanessa would stand guard. After his death, she walked away from the Nike deal. Not to fight, but to protect. Because Kobe never needed the machine. And he didn't want his legacy trapped in its gears. So she chose silence over signature. Dignity over dollars. Memory over marketing. And in that moment, she wasn't just his widow. She became his witness. His voice. His sword. He didn't collect enemies. He cultivated them. Each name a thorn, each feud a lesson. Not hatred, just fuel. Kobe Bryant didn't start fights. He finished them. And if he didn't finish them, he remembered them. He didn't scream across the court. He stared. He studied. He stored names like stones in his pocket. Shaq was the first. They won together. 3 rings. A dynasty. But behind the curtain, a crack. Shaq coasted on talent. Kobe, he clawed through pain. I'm tired of being the sidekick, he once said. And when the time came, he didn't blink. Shaq was gone. Not out of betrayal. Out of necessity. Because Kobe needed to grow. And some shadows are too heavy to bloom beneath. Then came Duncan. The quiet ghost. No headlines. No scandals. Just rings. And every time Kobe rose, Duncan stood in the way. The media loved Tim. Humble, graceful, the perfect teammate. Kobe watched from the other side. Branded difficult. Painted villain. They love him because he's boring, Kobe once said. And perhaps that was true. But boring never bled purple and gold. Then there was Boston. Not just a team. An insult. A 39-point loss in 2008. A public stripping of pride. Kobe didn't forget. 2 years later, he returned the favor. Game 7. Ugly. Gritty. Perfect. Vanessa would later say, that ring was the sweetest, because it was revenge. Even Raja Bell. A role player. A clothesline in the playoffs. A moment most would shrug off. Kobe didn't. He burned that name into his memory. Played harder every time Phoenix came to town. Not to embarrass Bell. To remind him. Because every insult became an ingredient. Even LeBron. He wasn't an enemy in the traditional sense. They didn't scream. They didn't brawl. But that's what made it sharper. Kobe saw the red carpet. The headlines. The league reshaping itself around LeBron's smile. And he stood off to the side. Watching. Wounded. He didn't see a rival. He saw a system. A system that handed things to those who hadn't paid the same price. Not in blood. Not in silence. Not in solitude. You have to fight for your name, Kobe told his daughter. Because he knew. They won't fight for you. And Vanessa. She remembered. She never forgot. Grief can fade. But duty remains. She didn't just lose a husband. She inherited a vow. Vanessa Bryant doesn't speak often. But when she does, the world listens. Not because her words are loud, but because they are deliberate. Because they come from the last place Kobe ever trusted. She watched the tributes. The hashtags. The sudden swell of praise from the same mouths that once questioned his greatness. She heard the silence too. In LeBron's voice. In the way he never said Kobe's name. After the Hall of Fame induction. After the documentaries. After the gold-draped speeches. And she knew. This wasn't memory. This was marketing. Vanessa didn't need to slander LeBron. She just chose not to name him. At the memorial, with the world watching, with celebrities and legends in the room, she stood alone. She spoke of Kobe the father, Kobe the fighter, Kobe the creator. But not once did she say LeBron. And in that silence, there was a sentence, a full declaration. You do not get to inherit what you did not earn. Because Kobe's greatness wasn't transferable. It was carved. In pain, in patience, in privacy. They asked her once, why not unite the legacies? Why not bless the torch passing? She answered quietly, Kobe believed greatness isn't inherited. It's earned. So she began again. On her terms. She pulled Kobe's estate from Nike. Turned down billions. Not out of ego, but out of loyalty. Because she saw what he saw. The system will celebrate you with one hand and erase you with the other. She launched the Mambasita Foundation. Built apparel lines. Hosted tournaments. Stood courtside at WNBA games. She wasn't just honoring her daughter. She was protecting her husband's spirit. A spirit they tried to soften. To sanitize. To fold into the next headline. But the Mamba was never meant to be soft. He was never meant to be convenient. Now she works on a documentary. Not a highlight reel. A reckoning. A retelling. A resurrection of truth. No filters. No gloss. Just Kobe. Just the man who woke up before the world. Who loved deeper than he showed. Who bled for a game. And never begged for recognition. Because while others count rings, Vanessa counts influence. Ask Jason Tatum. Ask Devin Booker. Ask Sabrina Ionescu. Ask the quiet fire still burning in locker rooms. Every time a player whispers, Mamba mentality. And when they ask, where is LeBron in all of this? Vanessa doesn't reply. Because legacy doesn't argue. It just endures. And so she walks forward. Alone. But never uncertain. Kobe doesn't need rewriting. He just needs remembering. And she will be the flame that never lets him fade.